In this video, we are going over the 7 areas where we see couples planning their weddings go over budget the most. And wedding planning is a lot to take on, and we don't want you to go over budget in any of these 7 areas. So we are giving you not only these areas, but how to avoid going over budget or not planning ahead for some of these additional fees.
So number 1, and this one I have been seeing for years and years and years, and everybody always asks, it's the catering plus plus. It can be in a hotel and catering, but what does plus plus mean? It means tax, gratuity, service charge. This plus plus can add up.
A little extra for Margot here.
Can add up to 30%, and that is a big chunk. So you always have to ask, does this price include the plus plus?
Yes, does it include every little additional fee? Ask for that right off the bat. Number 2 is feeding your DJ, your band, actually all of your vendors. You wanna know how many people will be working on your wedding day. Is it 2 photographers, 2 videographers, a DJ, a band? A band can easily be 6, 8, 10 people plus a sound tech. So you wanna talk to every single vendor, find out how many people will be coming from that team, and feed them, as I always like to say, a hot meal. Because some of these people and vendors have been working 14-hour, 16-hour days to make your wedding day special and memorable. They've been there since the morning. They won't leave till the evening, and it is so important to keep their bellies happy and full. And as you know, after a long day of work, there's nothing that keeps you going to work longer than a yummy hot meal. So make sure you're putting the accurate counts together, talking to everybody, because if you're estimating 10, but it's actually 20 vendors you'll be feeding times 40 vendor meals, adds up quick, and we don't want you to see that go over budget.
And we don't want to do that math in our heads either. So make sure to add that onto your budget. The next one, number 3, is asking about flower substitutes. We are in love with peonies. You can say it peonies, peonies.
Potato, potato.
But they are expensive. They really are. So maybe you save those for your special bridal bouquet, and maybe for your sweetheart table, or maybe on your cake. But the bulk of your flowers could be hydrangeas or garden roses, or roses that or flowers that don't cost as much. So be sure to ask if you're in love with something, but your budget for your flowers is coming in really high. Ask what the substitutes are.
I feel like that happens a lot these days too with Pinterest and Instagram. You might be surfing the internet and say, I love this flower arrangement. You might not even know what flowers make up that arrangement, what's in season, what's not, and you just give it to your florist. They don't ask any questions about your budget, and all of a sudden you have a $3,000 floral bill. I mean, who knows? But either way, you're like, oh my goodness, I wasn't ready for this. And that's part of having that open dialogue and saying like, well, what substitutions can I make? Are there more affordable things I can swap in and out? And these florists are experts in their field, and I guarantee you they can always make substitutions to bring down that cost and price and help you pick and choose what you actually need.
And we were just talking about, look at these fluffy flowers, these hydrangeas. They really fill in the vase, take up space, and look pretty too.
Mm-hmm. So and affordable.
And affordable. So, okay, here we go. Next to number 4, what does your photographer include? What does the contract include? How many hours does it include? It might say 4 hours, but in reality, when you look at your timeline, you need 8 hours or 10 hours. So make sure that it has enough hours on there. Is there a second shooter? Does it come with 1 photographer, 2 photographers? You might want that second person because there's a bridal party. You might want to get the groom's room and the bride's room, or the bride's and the bride's room, whatever it may be. You want to make sure you can capture everything, and also an album. Is it included? Is your album included? Because if it's not, that can be an additional cost at the end to you.
It does, and albums aren't cheap. Like really beautifully bound, seamless albums are a special piece of art that sits in your home forever. Sometimes we've seen photographers actually give a discount if you book the album ahead of time as part of the package, and then sometimes that album price goes up afterwards. So you want to ask the question so you know, and you're not hit afterwards with an additional cost you weren't anticipating. And also ask about the engagement session.
Oh, right.
We see a lot of photographers including engagement sessions as part of their package. If you don't see it on the package, ask, say, hey, is this something you include? And there you go, you've saved them money right there, because they might say yes. Yes, we can do that, but they might not say that from the beginning. So it's also knowing how to ask the right questions. Not that anybody's trying to pull a fast one on you, but a lot of these vendors in the wedding industry are creatives and they aren't as business savvy, and they're creatives and they're into the passion and the art. So it helps you and them to really ask the right questions.
And number 5, this can be a big one. And I have seen this tip save people thousands of dollars, really, and I'm not being too dramatic. So your rental fees, if you're having tables and chairs delivered, really no matter what you're having delivered, linens too, check the rental fees. If you're having them delivered on a 1-hour window on a Saturday morning, it's gonna cost you more. But if your venue will let you come in on Thursday with a window between 9 and 12 a.m., it might go down by several $100s and pick up on the other end as well. So watch that, ask the questions, and see if there's any way to reduce that fee.
It is. Every time we're not stuck, but we don't have the flexibility and we can only do Sunday, I'm just like, oh, Sunday delivery fees are always the most. So if there is flexibility, that is the best thing you can do. I mean, even ask your rental company, can you do any better? And ask your venue about their flexibility for storage and options. Because as Margo said, you can really rack up a lot of savings just in this one area.
And number 6, videographer. So a videographer is similar to the photographer. You want to make sure you have the number of hours that you need correct on the contract, as well as is there 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. It kind of depends on logistics of the day and how many guests you might have and what you want to capture. But also, what does it include? Is it a little reel that you get to watch like at a dinner party later when guests come over? Because are you going to make them watch the full-length video?
I mean, yes, make them watch the full length.
So know what it comes with, how many videos do you get at the end, and
yeah, I mean, it's so important, just bouncing off of that too with the hours for videographer and photographer. I mean, I see people being like, no, I don't need them to stay all night, blah, blah, blah. And you might not need them to stay till the end, but you want them to stay till cake cutting because that's such a special moment. And I see people cut that out. And then that night they'll be like, oh, wait, can they just stay? Can they stay for the cake cutting? And sometimes, you know, depending on the state and the legalities, they're hitting overtime and you're having to pay those overtime fees. Whereas if you had planned ahead and known the hours and part of the package, then you're not hitting those additional fees or overtime costs because you booked a package based on, you know, that hair and makeup getting ready to cake cutting, and then they can go and leave because you've gotten that last special moment of the night. So really check your timelines, be sure you have everybody there for the right times.
And number 7, last but not least, we've made it to 7, is making sense of venue minimums and hidden fees. Hidden fees are a big thing with me because I always tell couples, make sure they have put everything in the estimate that you can think of. That includes chef fees, restroom attendants, valet fees, coat checks, gift attendants, anything there might be, put it in. It doesn't mean you have to have it, but it's almost like an a la carte menu. Have it all in there so you can check it off and cross it off if you don't need it.
It's so important. I think 2 things. Margo is always the best at that. She's always like, we will be scouting a venue and I like to be the budget girl and I'll be like, I'm gonna put together an estimate. And Margo's always like, Lauren, just ask the venue to put it together because then all the fees will be included because they know all their hidden fees. And I'm like, yes, we'll start there.
And I even
such a great reminder.
Are there any hidden fees? You can say that.
Yes, say, are there any hidden fees? Include everything, and then you can start crossing things off that you don't need. I mean, just another example too, when I was at the hotel, we had an AV liaison. You're like, AV what? An audio visual liaison. If you brought in a different lighting company to our hotel, we charged to have somebody from our audiovisual company in the room to babysit and watch your people set up. And that was an hourly rate. And depending on how many hours and how many days of setup and load in you have, that adds up fast. So that's why, I mean, that's just an example, maybe an extreme one, but maybe not, depending on where you're getting married, of hidden fees. So you want to keep that in mind. They really can sneak up on you. And you probably don't even know what hidden fees exist because you're probably like, wait, what are you talking about, Lauren? So they exist in weird ways, like plugging into their audio and using the house sound. Some people charge for that. So
and power too, they charge for
power too if you need extra power and all of that. So really make it clear, like, is everything that could come up on here? Because I want no surprises, because our goal is to help you plan ahead and not go over budget at the end of the day.
And included in this number 7, which maybe it should have been number 8, but it's still number 7, is venue minimums. You need to understand what the minimum means. If a venue tells you they have a $10,000 minimum, great. But then you actually get the estimate. You might go way over that because their meals are $200 per person. You have 100 people. So minimums are important to know, but it doesn't mean you're only spending that minimum.
That's true. And again, that comes back to asking your wedding venue for
an
estimate that is very clear based on your number. I mean, honestly, too, these are things we just used to churn out. Like I just had a template, plugged in the number of people, plugged in the average meal price. Maybe it was a $10,000 minimum, but I plugged in your 120 people and I could show you that you're easily blowing that minimum away. So you really want to put the onus on a lot of these expert vendors to give you accurate information, and hopefully these items give you also the right questions to ask so you're not surprised and making mistakes in your planning or going over budget because you are completely prepared.
That is right.
I think that's good. Well, if you like this, I feel like we give you a lot of great information. And if you're craving more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page because we'll be dropping new videos. And also check out theweddingcourse.com where we are giving you so much helpful information on wedding planning. We have an entire e-course to educate you and guide you so we can hold your hands along the way.
Happy planning, everyone.